Hey guys, in this video we are going to be working a long boho vest. To work this vest you are going to need about 400 to 600 yards of a number 4 medium weight yarn, depending on how long you want to make this vest. And you are going to want to use the recommended hook size for the yarn that I am using, that is 5.5 millimeters. Hey guys, in this video we are going to be working a crochet boho vest. To do this, we are going to use a number 4 medium weight yarn and the recommended hook size for this yarn, 5.5 millimeters. And before we get into working the pattern, the count for this pattern is 9. I'm going to put it up here on the screen. The smallest it can be is 9. And then you are going to increase in increments of 8, which again I will put up here on the screen, the examples. And if you need to go any bigger than the examples here, you will want to continue increasing in increments of 8. So to get started with this, you're going to want to chain a chain that is the width that you would like the bottom of your back panel to be. So I am going to make the bottom of my back panel a little wider than the top, and we can decrease later on in the pattern to make armholes and bring in the width of the top of our back panel. So I'm going to start with the bottom of my back panel wider to make this more loose fitting. Therefore, I'm going to make the bottom of my back panel with 81 stitches. You can make your vest fit in whatever way you would like. More fitting or more loose fitting, it is up to you. Again, as long as your count corresponds with the count for this pattern. So again, I am starting with a chain of 81, and you will want to chain a chain however wide you would like the bottom of your back panel to be, as long as it is corresponding with the count for this pattern. And if you need to see how to do this or anything else in this video, there will be links for those videos in the description box below. If you like this video and channel, please give this a like and subscribe, and leave me a comment to tell me what you think. Also, in the description box you can find the link to my Etsy, and there you can find the written pattern for this pattern, as well as other art that I make and sell, such as t-shirts, stencils, jewelry, and more. So please check that out if you feel like doing so. And lastly, if you'd like to keep up with what I am doing outside of videos, you can follow me on Instagram at @thecraftnut, and you can also tag me there with the things that you make for my patterns, because I'd love to see your guys' work too. When you have chained the amount that you would like for the bottom of your back panel, we will then chain 2 more, which is going to be the beginning chain 2 of the row and does not count as a stitch. And then we are going to double crochet into the 3rd stitch from the hook, which is the first of the count that we are using, for me 81. And then we are going to double crochet into the next stitch and each stitch across the chain. So again, double crochet into each stitch across the chain, and when you get all the way across, you should have the amount of stitches that you decided to use that corresponded with the count. When you've made it all the way across the first row with double crochets, and you've made sure that your count is the count that you decided to use, we will then turn our work, and for row 2, we are going to start with a chain of 4, which does not count as a stitch, and we are going to work a double triple crochet in this same first stitch. So we are going to yarn over 3 times, and we are going to insert our hook into that stitch and pull up a loop, yarn over and go through 2, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, go through 2. So again, a double triple crochet, and then we're going to chain 5 and skip 3 stitches, and then single crochet into the next stitch, and then we are going to chain 5, skip 3 stitches, and we are going to double triple crochet into the next stitch. So again, yarn over 3 times, insert our hook into that stitch and pull up a loop, then yarn over and pull through 2 loops, yarn over and pull through 2 loops, yarn over and pull through 2 loops, and yarn over and pull through 2 loops. And that is what we are going to do all the way across this row. So from here we are going to chain 5, skip 3 stitches, and single crochet into the next stitch, then chain 5, skip 3 stitches, and double triple crochet into the next stitch. And again, do this all the way across this row. When you've made it all the way across the second row, you should have these triangles with a line down the middle all the way across, and on either end have a half triangle. So again, when you get all the way to the end, you should have 1 double triple crochet into the very last stitch of the previous row for 1 half triangle at the end of this row. For row 3, we are going to turn our work, and we are again going to start with a chain of 4, which does not count as a stitch, and we are going to work a double triple crochet into the same first stitch, and then we are going to chain 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then we are going to skip all the way to this next double triple crochet, and we are going to double triple crochet into that double triple crochet. And that is what we are going to do all the way across this row. So again, now chain 7, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and then skip all the way over to the next double triple crochet and double triple crochet into that stitch, and do that all the way across this row until you have double triple crocheted into the last double triple crochet of the previous row. When you've made it all the way across that row, row 3, and you have double triple crocheted into the last double triple crochet of the previous row, we should then have these big spaces all the way across this row. For row 4, we are going to turn our work, and we are going to start with a chain of 3, which does not count as a stitch, and we're going to work 4 triple crochets into the same first stitch. So now we are working triple crochets, and you will want to work 4 of them in this same first stitch. And now we are going to single crochet around the 4th chain of this chain 7. So just single crochet around it so that it connects it like this. And then we're going to triple crochet 7 times in the next double triple crochet. So that one being the first, connecting it like that. And then we're going to triple crochet 6 more times into this same stitch for a total of 7 triple crochets, all in the same stitch. When you have 7 triple crochets all in that same stitch, we are then going to single crochet around the 4th chain of the next 7. And then we are going to continue doing the same thing all the way across, again by triple crocheting 7 times into the next double triple crochet, again working 7 triple crochets into that next double triple crochet. And when you've worked these 7 triple crochets, we will then single crochet around the 4th chain of the next 7, and repeat this all the way across until you have single crocheted all around the last chain 7 of the previous row. When you have single crocheted around the last chain 7 of the previous row, and you are left with the last double triple crochet, we are then going to work 4 triple crochets into this last double triple crochet, just like we did at the beginning of the row. So again, work 4 triple crochets on the same stitch, and that is the end of row 4. And you should have these shells all the way across with half shells at either end. For row 5, we are going to turn our work, and we are going to start with a chain of 1, which does not count as a stitch, and we are going to single crochet into the same first stitch, and then we are going to chain 3 and skip 3 stitches and double crochet into this single crochet in the middle of these 2 shells. So again, double crochet into that stitch, and then we are going to chain 3 and skip 3 stitches and single crochet into the next, which is the middle 4th of these 7 triple crochets, and then we are going to chain 3, skip 3 stitches and double crochet into the next, the single crochet in between the 2 shells. So that is what we are going to do all the way across this row. Again, chain 3, skip 3 stitches and single crochet into the next stitch, chain 3, skip 3 and double crochet into the next stitch, and do this all the way across until you have single crocheted into the last stitch of the row. When you've made it all the way across that row, row 5, this is what your work should look like all the way across. And again, you should have a single crochet in the last stitch of the row. And then we are going to turn our work, and for row 6 we are going to start with a chain of 2, which does not count as a stitch. Then we are going to double crochet into the same first stitch, and then we're going to work 3 double crochets around the next chain 3 space, and then work a double crochet into the next double crochet, then we're going to work 3 double crochets around the next chain 3 space, and work a double crochet into the next single crochet. And that is what we are going to do all the way across this row. Again, work 3 double crochets around each chain 3 space, and 1 double crochet into each double crochet and single crochet of the row all the way across. When you've made it to the end of that row, row 6, and you have 1 double crochet in each single crochet and double crochet, and 3 double crochets around each chain 3 space all the way across. You should have the same amount of stitches for this row, row 6, that you had for your first row, and the same amount of stitches that you decided to use that corresponds with the count for this pattern. For me, that is 81 stitches. So row 6 is the last row of our repeating rows for this pattern. So at this point, if you are going to work your back panel to be one width all the way through, you can go on to work rows 2 through 6 until you have the length for your back panel that you would like. And again, that is if you are working it to be one width all the way through. And if you are going to decrease for your armholes, like I am, you are going to want to go on to repeat rows 2 through 6 until you are ready to work your armhole and until you are ready to decrease. So I am going to go on to work these rows until I am finished with row 30, which is a row right here, which is a repeat of row 5, because we are going to decrease on a double crochet row. So again, if you are going to decrease for your armholes, you want to go on to repeat rows 2 through 6 until you are ready to work your armhole, and you will want to stop on row 5 of repeats so that we can decrease on the double crochet rows, which is a repeat of row 6. And again, I am going to go on to repeat these rows until I am finished with row 30, and then I am going to decrease for the armhole, which we will go over together. Okay, so I have worked through row 30, and I am now ready to decrease for my armholes. So to do that, we are going to turn our work to work a repeat of row 6, which is the double crochet rows. And on this row, we are just going to decrease by however many stitches you need to decrease by. To decrease, you are going to want to decrease in increments of 8 to continue having the correct amount of stitches for this count and pattern. I am going to decrease by 32 stitches on this row. To know how many stitches you want to decrease by, what I did is just held this up to me or my mannequin and decided how many stitches on each side I wanted to go in by looking at these middle posts, which is where you are going to decrease to, because those are every 8 stitches. So again, I held this up to me or my mannequin and decided that I wanted to go 16 stitches in on either side, which is a total of 32 stitches. You can of course decrease more or less than that. It is up to you, and it is also up to you how exactly you decrease. What I mean by that is everybody may be decreasing by a different amount of stitches and also starting with a different amount of stitches. So I'm going from 81 stitches to 49 stitches, which is about half of my stitches going away. Therefore, I am going to work 1, 2 double crochet together every other stitch. So again, this is our double crochet row. So to do this, we are going to start with the chain of 2, which does not count as a stitch. And in this first stitch, I am going to start a double crochet, leaving the last 2 loops on the hook. And then I am going to do that again around the chain 3 space, and then bring those 2 double crochets together. And that is 1, 2 double crocheted together. And then I'm going to work a double crochet around the chain 3 space, and then I'm going to work another 2 double crochet together. And that is what I'm going to do all the way across this row. And then at the end of the row, I'm going to make sure I have 49 stitches, which is the amount of stitches I would like to continue having after this row. So again, you'll want to decrease however you need to get the amount of stitches after this row that you have decided to use after decreasing and for the shoulder width of your back panel. Doing that the same way that I did, decreasing more or decreasing less if that is what you need to do to get the desired count. Okay, so I've now made it to the end of that row, and in fact, instead of working 2 double crochet together and then 1 double crochet all the way across, I worked 2 double crochets together and then 1 double crochet across and repeated that all the way across. So again, like I said, you may just have to figure out how it works for you, and you may not even be able to have a perfect repeating pattern like this. It may just be random, but just make sure you have the count that you would like to move on with at the end of this row. And now we are going to continue on working rows 2 through 6 the same way that we have been until you get the length for your back panel that you would like. I'm going to go on to work through rows 2 through 6 2 more times to get to row 41, but that is not quite long enough. Yet I don't want the full length of the full repeating patterns again. Therefore, when I get to row 41, I am going to stop with the repeating pattern there, and I am going to work just a few rows of solid double crochets at the top of my back panel. So again, when I get to row 41, which is the last row I'm going to work the repeating pattern for, I'm going to work row 42, 43, and 44 with just solid double crochets to make my panel just a little bit longer, but not the full length of the repeating rows. So again, you are going to want to go through rows 2 through 6 until you get the length for your back panel that you would like. And if you would like a little more length without going through the full pattern of rows again, you can add a few rows of solid double crochets at the top to add a little more length. When you have finished off your back panel and worked it to be the length that you would like it to be, you will then want to finish it off, and then we are going to go on to work the front panels. To figure out the width that you would like for the top and bottom of your front panels, you're going to want to start with the width of the top of your back panel. So that is what I have here. And again, I have 49 stitches across the top of my back panel. So you're going to want to start with the count that you have at the top, and you're going to want to divide that in half, which for me, 49 divided by 2 is 24.5. And if we are looking at our count, which I will throw up here on the screen again, 24.5 of course does not work with our count. So I'm going to want to go down to the next count that corresponds with our count for this pattern. That way it leaves me enough room to sew both front panels onto the top of our back panel, and leaves me a little bit of room in between the two front panels for my neck. So again, really quickly, you are going to want to take the count at the top of your front panel and divide it by 2, and then go down to the next count that corresponds with the count for our pattern to figure out the count that you want for your front panels. If you are working your panels to be one width all the way through, then that width works for your front panels, and you will want to chain that amount of stitches, add 2, and work your front panels to be the exact same as your back panel. If you decreased on your back panels, like I did for your armholes, you can have your front panel be one width all the way through if you would like, or you can have them decrease just like your back panel if you would like, which again is what I did. So as I said, my count at the top of my back panel was 49 divided by 2 is 24.5. Therefore, I'm going to go down to 17 stitches at the top of my front panels, like you see here. This is the first front panel. So at the top here, I have 17 stitches all the way across. But again, I wanted to decrease on my front panels just like I did for my back panels, which you can see right here. And you are going to want to make sure to decrease on the same row. So I went from 17 stitches that I determined I needed at the top of my front panels, and I added 16. So again, you're going to want to increase in increments of 8 to follow along with the count of our pattern. So I added 16 stitches to 17 so that I had 8 stitches on either side to decrease from. And 17 plus 16 is 33, which we can see in our count by jumping 2. And therefore I had the count that I'm going to use for the bottom of my front panels. So at the bottom of my front panels, it is 33 stitches all the way across, and then I went on to work the pattern the exact same way all the way through row 30 until I wanted to decrease on row 31 with solid double crochets, which I did, and decreased down to 17 stitches, which I need at the top of my front panel. And after decreasing, went on to work the same amount of rows up to row 41, and then worked the 3 extra rows of double crochets at the top. So again, when you have the count that you would like for the top and bottom of your front panel, you will want to go on to chain however many stitches you would like across the bottom of your front panel. Again, making sure it corresponds with the count for this pattern. And then we are going to chain 2 more, which does not count as a stitch. And we are going to double crochet into the 3rd chain from the hook, this being our first stitch. And again, this chain 2 not counting as a stitch. And then we're going to work 1 double crochet into the next stitch, and each stitch all the way across this row, the first row of the front panel. And then you're going to want to go on working this the same way that you worked the back panel, working rows 2 through 6 the exact same way. And again, making sure to decrease on the same row on the front panel that you did on the back panel if you did decrease. And on this front panel, making sure to decrease to the amount of stitches that you need across the top panel to be able to sew both front panels to the top of the back panel. When you have all 3 of your panels made, we are then going to sew them together. So I have a front panel and the back panel here, and I'm going to sew the tops together. I left the ends of the top of the front panels long so that I could use them as the string and not have to attach the string again. But if you did not, you will want to just attach these first 2 stitches together by tying them together. And then we are going to whip stitch them together by going through the first 2 stitches from the front to the back, like so, and pulling that string through. And I like to go through these 2 stitches twice just to make sure they are done well. And then we are going to go through the next 2 stitches, again from the front to the back, and pulling that through. And we are going to do that all the way until we get to the end of the first front panel. When you have the first front panel sewn on, we will then do the exact same thing to the second front panel, starting from the other end of the back panel and the other end of the front panel, and bringing these first 2 stitches together, and then whip stitching them all the way until you get to the end of this second front panel. And you will want to keep these inside out and flip this way, the way that you sewed them, until we get the sides sewn together as well, because it is easy to lose which side you are sewing on, and then you will have seams on both sides. So again, keep this inside out until you are done sewing everything together. When you have the shoulders sewn together, we are then going to sew the sides together. So here I have the front panel and the back panel, and we are going to start on the outer edges at the very bottom, and we are going to tie these very two bottom stitches together. So now we are going to go on to do the exact same thing for the sides that we did for the shoulders. So I'm going to go through these two stitches again one more time just to make sure they are done well. And then I'm going to hold this tail down as we go as well. And then we are going to go on to whip stitch this together through both stitches on the front and back panel, going from the bottom to the top or the front to the back, and pulling that through. And you're going to want to do that through every stitch all the way until you come to where you decrease for your armhole. If you decreased for your armhole, which I did, so that is where I'm going to work to, right about there where I decreased on the front and back panel. And if you did not decrease, you'll want to leave about 8 to 12 inches depending on your preference for your armhole. So again, go on to whip stitch the front and back panels together all the way until you reach where you decreased for your armhole. And if you did not decrease for your armhole, you'll want to leave 8 to 12 inches depending on your preference for the armhole. When you have finished that on this first side, you'll want to go on and do the exact same thing for the other side to finish sewing all of your panels together. When you have finished sewing all of your panels together, you will then want to flip your work right side out, and we are going to work a border all the way around this. So we are going to start on the bottom outside of the back panel, and we're going to start with a slip knot on our hook, and we're going to slip stitch around any stitch on the bottom of the back panel. And we are going to start with the chain 1, which does not count as a stitch, and single crochet in the first same stitch, and then single crochet into the next stitch, and each stitch until you come to the corner of the first front panel. When you've come to the corner stitch of the first front panel, we are going to work 3 single crochets all in this corner stitch. So again, work 3 single crochets all in this same stitch, and that is to round the corner. And then we are going to continue on working 1 single crochet in the side of each stitch all the way up the side of this front panel until you get to the top where it meets with the back panel, where you will continue working 1 single crochet across the top of the back panel until you come to the next front panel, where again you will continue working 1 single crochet all the way down the side of that front panel until you come to the bottom corner, where you will again work 3 single crochets in this corner stitch, and then continue working 1 single crochet in each stitch all the way across the bottom until you come back to the beginning single crochet of this border round. When you've made it all the way around the first round of the border and back to the beginning single crochet of the round, we will then slip stitch into the top of that beginning single crochet. That is the end of the first round. I'm going to go on to work 1 more round around the border, and you can do so if you would like, or you can leave it here. But if you would like to work 1 more round or more than that, this is how we are going to do so. So we are going to start with a chain of 1, which does not count as a stitch, and we're going to work 1 single crochet into the same first stitch, and then work 1 single crochet in the next stitch and each stitch until you come to the middle stitch of the 3 in the corner. When you've come to the middle stitch of the 3 in the corner, we will then again work 3 single crochets all in this same middle stitch to continue the corner. And then we are going to continue working 1 single crochet in each stitch all the way up the side of the front panel, across the back panel, and down the side of the second front panel until you again come to the corner, where you will again work 3 single crochets in the very middle stitch of the corner, and then continue working 1 single crochet in each stitch all the way back until you come back to this beginning single crochet, or you will slip stitch into the top of this beginning single crochet of the round. Again, I'm going to finish my border off after the second round, and you can do so if you would like, or you can continue working a border for however many rounds you would like, continuing to work it the same way as the second round as many times as you need to until you are content with your border. And that's all there is to it. So I hope that that was helpful and enjoyable for you. If it was, please hit that sub, like, and bell button and leave me a comment to tell me what you think. I hope that you guys go on to create many more amazing things. And until next time, guys, I'll see ya.